Alright, guys, now it is time. Because this has been a big thing for the soccer world community. The players versus managers debate. Ooh. Obviously, we have been debating this a lot. If you've been following the soccer world community, we have been debating this a lot on whether or not managers or players should take more accountability within their actions when it comes to either success or failure, right? And obviously, we do have polar opposite, thoughts when it comes to this as well. So, one of the questions I do want to ask at the start: do managers get more flack compared to players? It's a first big question. Does anybody want to answer that?
The big names, usually the big names get the more flack because we have seen about Mourinho, we've seen about Pep. They usually get questioned whenever there is a loss. Like you remember when the previous quarterfinals of the Champions League where they lost against Lyon, Man City, Pep was at stake, and the same thing against Leicester, Pep was at stake, and every loss they tend to take accountability against the bigger managers, the managers who have proved themselves time and time and again. Like Jose Mourinho, when Spurs were on a losing streak, he was questioned. Then the players questioned. He was he was questioned, but the real problem was with the players and the injuries. Kane and Son were really good, but the rest of the team, you gotta think about it. And Mourinho got questioned, and he is quite a controversial figure comparing as a manager. He's a very controversial figure. So the main thing is media wants that attention from they give attention to the controversial, the more of these big managers. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's the main thing they get accountable for.
All right. Actually, very good, interesting point. Yeah, Mustafa, I think this is your time to
Before
shine.
He's
before
gone.
Mustafa starts, right?
Mustafa,
I
Oh,
gotta
okay.
go right now. I'll be
Mustafa's
back in a
gone.
bit.
Hey,
Yes,
go ahead, guys. Go
I'll
ahead.
be back in a bit.
Mustafa's
He'll be
gone.
back in a
Gone.
bit.
No, he's gonna go
Yeah.
off.
I gotta go for right now. So
All right.
I'll be back in like 2 hours if Mustafa's still going on about his rant. But
Okay. Okay.
All right, Mustafa. Obviously for you, right? Mourinho not doing well this season. Do you really put it down to him, or do you really put it down to the players this season? Let's hear it from you, mate.
Let me get my notes.
Oh
No.
damn! We may have to extend the
Okay.
time.
Yo, I gotta go too. Hold on.
Hey, chill. Okay. I'm gonna start off with a quote from Sean Dyke. I could be mistaken here, but it was mentioned in the Spurs versus Burnley game, the recent one, that one of the managers, and I think it's Sean Dyke, I could be wrong, I couldn't find an article on it, but commentators were talking about it, that the manager is delaying the training sessions by a couple hours because the players they wake up too late. They don't wake up early anymore because all night they're playing video games. That's ridiculous.
Sounds
Yeah.
like something Neil would do.
If that's true, then it's ridiculous.
I mean, in
That
terms of PSG, you can say that they
okay,
have that star mentality, that superstar mentality, where they usually like Neymar, especially.
yeah,
I think,
but
yeah,
even then, it's not correct. Neymar is not good enough. Pick any player on this planet, other than of course Messi, Ronaldo, Lewandowski, and huge names like that. But Neymar is not good. Neymar and Mbappe, they're not good enough. They're good, but they're not good enough. They're not Ballon d'Or worthy. You know? Okay. Uh, as I was talking about him, it's ridiculous how the managers have to adapt according to the players' requirements, and it's not even a big requirement. We see Neymar every freaking year. He just goes off injured during February because it's his sister's birthday. That's ridiculous. Like, these players should not be given such an ease. They should be. They've lost it. The players have lost it.
Let me ask you this as well, right? Because you look at players like Neymar and Mbappe, right? Who have won those big things and everything. And, Spurs, they haven't won a lot this year and everything. So wouldn't you think that the players will actually would be more up to find someone like a winner like Jose Mourinho?
Okay, I'm gonna pull out this article.
Yeah, go for
I sent it to Neil, but Neil dipped.
Yeah, by the time he pulls out the article.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the same thing. They have the superstar mentality, and I think in
Who,
I think
Spurs?
in Spurs, it was Christian Eriksen. I guess he's really
Oh,
quiet. He
okay,
really
maybe.
Christian Eriksen and Gareth Bale. They keep really quiet,
Alright, let's see
and
this article right here.
Mm. Go ahead, Akil, if you want to finish your thought.
yeah, it's only that superstar mentality, and they think they're too good, like Gareth Bale, where Jose Mourinho has said he keeps really quiet and he doesn't talk much, but he doesn't interact with anyone. But that I think it's the Burnley versus Spurs press conference that he said about it. It's mainly due to that superstar, that stardom. The main thing that's on on blame is the stardom, that they don't get along with the managers, and the same thing with Deli Ali. He has that ego, he has that attitude that he doesn't get along with Jose Mourinho. That's why Mourinho hates. And the same thing with the same case happened with Paul Pogba and Jose Mourinho. They hated them. They hated each other mainly due to the egos colliding. And one thing the players need to realize: the manager is everything. If you, it's not the there's very self-centered that they think they're everything, and tend to they play a role in getting the manager sacked. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. The players need to listen to the managers. That's the main thing that everyone expects. That's the main thing everyone expects.
It's a very interesting, and I do want to ask actually more questions, but obviously Mustafa did pull this out and everything. What was the point that you want to push out, Mustafa?
Okay. Akil mentioned earlier in the previous topic that Lampard had to go,
Yes.
and it's an interesting thing. And you talk about how Mourinho should stay at Spurs. He doesn't deserve the blame he's getting, right?
Mhm.
What difference do you see between the two managers?
Lampard is like that. He's a man-to-man player manager. Like he focuses on individual players. That's why we've been having legends under him, like Milito in Inter Milan, Frank Lampard, John Terry, and Didier Drogba in Chelsea, and
No, but I do want to also add that Frank Lampard also did splash a lot of money this year as
y-
well,
yes,
compared to Jose Mourinho, who, to be fair, he made smart signings in the long run, but it didn't work out though. So, but
Part of the thing with like comparison with Jose and Lampard is like I think the media portrays them completely differently. Like Lampard's portrayed as like the club man, the man for the club. Everybody basically plays that Jose is bigger than Spurs, so obviously they're gonna be evaluated on different platforms, and I think that's why people think that Jose should stay at Spurs because they think that he's better than the entire club, and they value him way more than the other club. And they think that his influence is going to change Spurs. I'm not saying that he can and he will, but I just think that's what people see in him staying there.
It is easier to let go of a manager than completely change the team.
Hmm.
It is way easier to sack the manager, get a new one, than to actually look at the team and see what's wrong with it. And that is why I pulled out this article. Harry Kane talked about this. So this is an issue. We've observed this when Mourinho was the manager of Manchester United. Like a boring play style, and we saw it later on with Spurs in the late 2020. This boring play style, like sitting back, playing defensive, parking the bus. We started off the season with quite a bang. Spurs were really aggressive, like they wanted to achieve something. But then later on, slowly, they became lazier. Now, I'm talking from a Spurs fan perspective. I as I'm around as I'm in this community, I see a lot of Spurs fan, a lot, like 70-80% of them, they blame Mourinho. They blame Mourinho for playing a slow play style because he played slow with Manchester United as well, and he's known for parking the bus. Now, I don't think that's true. And Harry Kane talked about this against a win against Burnley, I think.
Mhm.
Also, I
Yeah, I
need to
think.
point out.
Sheffield.
Sheffield, you.
I need to point out one more thing. Don't call it parking the bus. It's defensive masterclass.
Okay, got you.
Whatever you want to say, man. Okay.
Because he's
It's
jealous
a
Chelsea
defensive
can't
Yeah,
have that anymore.
but
What do you mean?
No, it's not that. It's not that. It's just a way of playing. Like I said, defensive play is also a thing. Like the same way how tiki taka and the Croatian footballers. It's
But Tuchel's doing that right now.
you
How
know.
can you say that? Okay, but
okay.
anyways, go on. Go on with
Anyway,
your point.
Yeah, Harry Kane talked about it after the Sheffield win, and Hugo Lloris, who's the co-captain, who captains when Kane is, he talked about it after our latest loss against Dynamo Zagreb, and it's a really big issue. They both talk about like how the manager Jose Mourinho isn't telling them to sit back. Jose Mourinho is telling them to go out there, get those goals, but the players sit back. Now, I don't know what's wrong with Spurs. I don't know what's wrong with the players, but they're acting this way. And people who are just gonna look at the game, they're gonna blame Jose Mourinho. They're gonna think Jose has lost it. He's no longer the same man. But how can you say that? We don't know what's going on in the back.
Can I?
If you would have watched the All or Nothing documentary, you would have seen how motivative Jose Mourinho gets, and some of the players like Hugo Lloris. I remember that clip from All or Nothing. Hugo was yelling at Heung-min Son because like right before halftime they conceded a goal and it was 1-1, or I think they were
Yeah.
losing.
Right.
But Spurs were in the lead in the beginning, and Hugo was yelling at Son that why didn't you run? Why didn't you go for the ball? And Son was saying that he was injured. Then Hugo yelled again, like run for the team, run, and that's quite motivational. Like, and I don't see that in rest of the players at Spurs. I don't see that. No, I'm not saying Akil already pointed out a couple of Spurs players that he considers to have big egos, and I'm not gonna point out any names because I don't know what's going on in the back. The attitudes that I've seen, the terrible attitudes, I've seen it from 90% of the squad. Even I've seen it from Son as well. I've seen it from Harry Kane as well. But I don't blame them. I blame the whole team for playing like this. I blame Sissoko. Sissoko was phenomenal for Spurs. He was amazing. When he came in, of course, quite bad, but then he improved. Same with Ndombele. They were bad players. They improved, and now they're again turning bad. And it's quite sad to see like the players fall off. And I don't know what the reason is, what's going on in the back, but these players don't deserve the blame. Sorry, the manager doesn't deserve the blame. The players deserve the blame. And Thivian, you talked about Mourinho being the head coach, and I absolutely agree with him. Right now, managers have no control over their players. The managers can tell the players, okay, do this, do that. Now, it's up to the players on the pitch to make those decisions, to make those micro decisions. We see, which game was it? Was it the Chelsea game that Sanchez gave away a penalty? It was against Chelsea, right?
That was
No,
Maybe, yeah.
Dyer give away the
no, no. It was against Arsenal.
Before
So
you
there
do
was
continue
a
though,
penalty given
Mustafa,
against Arsenal.
your audio is kind of cutting off as well.
Yeah.
You might want to fix that quickly.
Okay.
Your internet's too heated right
It's just
Yeah. It's pretty much it. Okay, but obviously before Mustafa does come back, I think it is a good point to bring out like Jose Mourinho on that side, because obviously, in a sense that he may be unjust in a way, but you look at his other CV as well. Some people may look at the Spurs documentary and they may have a different point of view. We gotta keep this in mind that the Spurs documentary was made for Spurs people, Spurs fans and everything. Even though it was quite enjoyed by other people, they did cut off certain moments and they kept others, right? So we gotta remember and put that into perspective. Now, we looked at, and it's a very interesting thing when we look at like Jose Mourinho's 3 separate times. His first time at Chelsea, I think he lost a plot, but I think people looked at it as like, it really is an off season from Jose Mourinho. Yeah, it was bad from him, but is it really an indicator that kind of like the certain things now that we look at, like for example the psychology side of things and everything, is affecting him? No, not really. I think it was like a really, really poor season from him, and I think people were able to look back from that, right? And then you look at Jose Mourinho's season next season, where, he did predominantly better. He won 2 trophies with Man United, but obviously within his 3rd season, completely collapsed again.
No, that was his first season. That was his first season. Then he won the 2 trophies.
Yeah, he won the 2 trophies, but I'm talking about at the end of his 3rd season, right?
Yeah.
Collapsed again. Players were not particularly listening to him and whatnot, and because of it, United decided to take the moment to sack him and everything. And then you look at when he's come to Spurs and everything. Even though there is Harry Kane that is going to back him, and maybe he's that kind of Mourinho type of player where you look at like Drogba and Essien, who are people that were like things, leaders on the pitch, right? But again, football's been moving on faster than we think, right? And a lot of that star mentality is, hitting to them. And it's hard to kind of balance that for some of the players as well when they look at that. And some managers, they look at, they're more inept of controlling that more, right? And building a community that is better, right? I look at people like Pep Guardiola, who's, he's able to buy the particular players and everything, right? But as we see with Lampard, the amount of money that you do spend, it doesn't determine the success right away. It's how you use those players that's important, right? And Pep Guardiola is consistently able to get the best out of these players at the most times. Apart from last season where he massively underperformed, I would say he's massively wronged those rights again. And he improved, right? He's able to get those players up again, right? But you see in Spurs, obviously, I think last season he had a lot of injuries and all that. That could be the excuse this season, right? However, this season. Oh, you disagree? How come?
Injury is not an excuse. Injury is not an excuse for no. No.
It is.
Let me complete the sentence.
Let him speak.
Hey, he's just messing with me. Injury is not an excuse for the players to play bad. Okay? Thivian, you saw it by your own two eyes. When Van Dijk got injured, just a week after, what was Liverpool's performance?
Liverpool's performances like before that, obviously with 7-2 with Aston Villa, they were doing okay, but obviously the 7-2 was a massive shock, I think, for everybody's point of view and everything. And then once Van Dijk was injured and everything, it wasn't really because of the defense either. I think a lot of people
Yeah.
need to realize, right? We got to look at the performances on why there was something wrong mentally wise when it came to the attacking front line. Now, do I put it all down to Klopp in that instance, or do I put it down even to all the players, for example? Not particularly so. I do think that at certain points they were trying, but because of the losses and everything, the players started to not care anymore in that sense. And when you look at all the other internal positions, there were issues. But for example, you look at teams like Brighton, you look at teams as West Brom. Should we have won those games? Yes, 100%, right? We shouldn't expect to beat the bigger teams where they are in a susceptible position, right? I would accept that. But to lose against some of the smaller sides, that's unacceptable, right? And I looked at it as a whole. And I think a lot of our supporters, anyways, are in like, to conclude that, look, it's really bad. The team is performing poorly, and they need some time to really gel in and really reflect themselves, right? And Klopp does deserve another season. Now, I don't know about Spurs because, Jose Mourinho hasn't proved anything to them yet.
Okay.
Hmm.
Like after Van Dijk's injury, Liverpool's performance dropped, like it dramatically dropped. And from what I saw, I think the players deserve the blame. The Liverpool players deserve the blame in comparison to Klopp. I don't think Klopp would have made them play any better. That's one thing.
Can I intervene?
Yeah, go for
ahead,
it. Go for it.
I actually think it's a bit of both, because when you lose a player of that caliber, the morale of the team is going to go down. That's inevitable. And bringing the morale back up is really difficult, but that's the manager's job. And that's why I don't think the manager should be fully excused from it. Again, it's kind of unrealistic that the manager gets affected by it just as much as the players. They're all in it together getting affected by it.
Mm-hmm.
But to suggest that the manager doesn't get any responsibility for that unfortunate instance that they have to deal with, would be unfair. Because again, the players are the ones who they take, I guess, command from the manager, right? And they get the vibe from the manager, and then continue with that on the field of one, or they're supposed to at least.
And I do want to
I
add
think-
on as well.
I don't
if you
think
mind.
anyone's
Oh.
free.
Yeah, I do want to add on if
Yeah.
I don't mind as well. You say okay, the players deserve something like that, right? Klopp in and of itself wasn't in the proper mindset in certain points of the season as well. I do think he should. Oh, I thought you were raising your hand up. I do think he should get certain blame for certain points of the season. Like, for example, the West Brom game, he should have taken advantage of it. There was not much injuries. The Michelin game, why did he play Jota when we didn't need to, right? Because of that, he was injured. He didn't have to play a lot of his bigger teams. That was a chance for him to rest players, right? He has made mistakes this season. It's not like he hasn't. And to be fair, for a long period of time, I've seen the players, they're trying the same things, but they're not, I guess, in a sense, creative, right? There's a distinct style of play that they are trying to implement. I can see that, right? Which is why I do think it is partially the players' fault, and it is partially the manager's fault in this situation, at least for Liverpool this season. And it is a collective fault in that sense, right? I've seen Liverpool teams before that, the players they weren't good enough, or they, at times they didn't put enough effort in certain games and they were on and off, right? At least for that certain point in time, I've seen them at least putting effort until there was a point where they just didn't have a lot of, wins and everything. The morale was really low for them, and then you can actually see that players were actually, the performance levels were going down, right? And that's why I think it was really good that Klopp, brought someone like Nat Phillips and everything, people that were just hungry to go in and to perform. And we are seeing little performances like that to go down. So what Liverpool needs to do this season is to really just build that confidence up. Do what they need to do in the Champions League. Let them try their best to win it, and we'll see how far we go. And then really, yeah, go on.
And no, sorry, just one thing I have to add. You can't forget the fact that they had 20 different center back partners. Am I correct in saying that? There's 20 different center back.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like how, like 20 different center back partnerships. That's insane. Man City's had what, 4, maybe like 5 max, and that's because they're really good at rotation. And so when you have a situation where your best center back is out for the season, your second best center back's out for the season, and
Bear in
you're
mind,
out here
Alisson as
buying
well.
center backs.
Yeah, Alisson was also out for a large parts of the season as well.
True. But like that's okay though. And
No,
then
but that's true though, because the goalkeeper at the end of
start
the day,
bringing-
right? You know, look, think about Ederson, right? How he sets his team up as well, right? He's kind of like the beginning, you know, like he sets kind of the defensive line to transition forward.
Bro,
He
Scott
is part of
Carlson
it.
did a good job, bro.
If we use Ederson
Scott
as
Carlson
an
did a good
example,
job, bro.
Yeah, go
we use
on.
him as an example. Last season it was around the leg that we played at Anfield. I think the game we played at Anfield last year. I think it was like a 3-4 period game where Ederson was injured, and I think we lost like three of those games or something like that. So yeah, goalkeepers definitely have a big part on organizing the defense. So Alisson definitely, that was a big miss for them too.
The point I was trying to make is the point I was trying to make though is if you have Van Dijk and Gomez and like your regular back four, and you have Alisson versus what's the other one? Adrian. Alisson versus Adrian. It's not going to be as big of an impact versus if you don't have Van Dijk and Gomez up there and you have Alisson or even Adrian. Like the difference is more significant in center backs with
Adrian
Liverpool
was there.
specifically.
Adrian was there for the 7-2 loss against
And he was
Aston
there
Villa.
for
I'm just
that.
saying.
It gives your defense less confidence if you don't have your star player in net. Like you've seen so many occasions that they have to work harder to defend because they don't have the trust in, well, I don't know if trust is the right word, but they don't feel as comfortable as if Liverpool had Alisson in net, for example.
Mustafa, did you want to add something actually?
Yep. I just have 2 points. First point, responding to Hafiz. I somewhat agree with you. I think the manager deserves the blame as well. But observing from Spurs' point of view, last season when it was Mourinho's first season, Harry Kane got injured, and everyone thought that it was the end of Spurs. For like, I can't remember how long he was injured, but it was pretty significant time. I think it was 5 to 7 games. Spurs didn't lose a game. Spurs did not lose a single game at that time. They might have lost one, I could be wrong, but majority of the games they won, they smashed it.
I'm pretty sure they had a higher win percentage. I'm pretty sure I've seen that stat before.
Yeah, they had a higher win percentage without Kane when Kane was injured than they did with Kane. Kane is a key player to Spurs. Don't get the word twisted. Like it's not like Spurs is better without Kane.
Absolutely.
It's that Spurs still performed better without Kane. They did not care that their key player was out. They still wanted. They were hungry at that time. They had the hunger to get those wins.
Let me ask you this, Mustafa, if you don't mind, actually.
Can I respond to him real quick?
Oh yeah, go
Unless
ahead.
it's
Go
along
ahead.
the lines.
No. Go ahead.
Okay. Bro, that was, correct me if I'm wrong, that was Jose Mourinho's honeymoon period. Am I correct when I say that?
I mean, you could label it as a honeymoon period, but I see it as a normal Mourinho time.
That doesn't quite explain this season though. 'Cause, like, if you see it as a normal Mourinho time, that would generally apply over an extended period of time.
It
I
was
know
a-
Mourinho
necessarily
time actually
correlated.
would be like his second season would be his top season. Is this really normal?
Okay. The Hurricane injury period was in the first season when he took over.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the point I was trying to get at is that time is when things were still getting started per se. He wasn't as settled as he was after getting an entire summer and and more time there. Am I wrong?
I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't like a new period. It wasn't the start. That's
When
all
did
I
he
know.
come
It
in?
wasn't the start. I need to check the dates again, man. You're making me look at the calendar.
It's all good, man. It's all good. But you know, these are good examples, and the reason why we do bring this up as well is like better decipher, because what I've learned as well throughout my time, anyways. I don't know if people have the same thing. It really depends on the team that whether or not the player or manager should get fault for this, right? And of course, the media has an eye on certain things, right? But it's not like players don't get more negative feedback than the manager, at least in my point of view. If anybody wants to correct me if I'm wrong after this explanation, you can. It's like, you know, we look at like Marcus Rashford, for example. The man, you know, to be fair, he was overhyped in the beginning, but I don't particularly think it should still hold. You know, he's been performing pretty well, you know, especially with this humanitarian thing, and especially the fact that he does get at times, especially in the tabloids and everything. I think it's horrendous. Same with people like Raheem Sterling, for example. Even though he is performing great at the moment, at times he gets unnecessary flack, whatsoever. And then you look at
That's a
certain
whole
managers.
discussion, to be honest.
Sorry.
That's the fact that generally we see that black people tend to get more negative press. It's a whole discussion. Like I want to look at that in depth, but
Oh, I
from
mean,
the scene
Yeah, in
that
case
I
of Raheem
see,
Sterling, yes.
that's been slightly consistent. But I want to
I think in
look
the
into it in
British,
depth, and
I definitely agree in terms of British tabloids and everything. We don't actually
that's
have that on
yeah,
the
that's what I
list
was
and
thinking.
whatnot.
The
But
first thing is British media is toxic on the if you
Every
consider
all
it,
media is
it's
toxic, bro.
very much toxic.
yeah,
Bro, everything's all media is toxic.
yeah, and I do think like certain players, like example Bruno Fernandes as well. He gets a lot of flack as well. I don't think that's racially driven or anything, but that's
No,
another big
and
example of
I'm
it.
not. That's what I'm saying. But then you have for every example, there's also a counter example, like Pogba, right? He gets some of it is justified, but some of it is just, in my opinion, unnecessary hate that's shown towards him. There's
Mm-hmm.
it's something that needs to be talked about in depth. I don't like throwing out suggestions like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like from the outside, that's what it seems like. I wanna genuinely talk about and like have a deep dive into the actual statistics and everything around it before coming to like a conclusion or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, yeah,
But
for sure.
from what I see, that's the vibe I get.
Okay, all right, and that could be actually kind of a discussion that we could have later on, actually, within future discussion panels, which is very good. But I just put that out there, like in
Yeah.
terms of like for managers as well, right? And then when you look at certain managers
Yeah.
like Jose Mourinho, that gets like a lot of unnecessary flack for whatever reason. You know, you look at other managers like Zidane as well, like especially with Real Madrid, like in terms of the Spanish media and how much they put on him, the amount of pressure is ridiculous.
I think the
Yeah.
managers get the highlight more than the players. And I don't think that's fair. The managers
Why
get a
not?
lot of okay. Managers get a lot of critique when something bad happens, but when something good happens, players get the most praise. Correct me if I'm wrong here.
You're
I mean,
depends.
depends as well. You look at
Yeah.
like someone like Messi, for example, or Ronaldo.
Okay,
Whenever they
not talking about like Messi and Ronaldo
or
because of
Mbappe,
course.
for example, like Mbappe, whenever he has like a lackluster performance, people doubt him and everything, and whenever he does pretty good, right? And there's those things as well where it's like it does cloud your judgment on certain
Sorry.
things.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Yeah.
Let me finish.
Okay. Okay, I somewhat agree with that because
Yeah.
those players have already gotten under the highlight. Like Mbappe, for example, or Haaland, for example. When Haaland is performing for BBB, nobody's praising the manager. Like, nobody even knows who the manager of BBB is. They're just praising Haaland.
Yeah.
And, okay, interesting stat. Haaland is second joint top scorer in Bundesliga with another player from, I think, Frankfurt.
Andre
I
Silva.
can't. Andre Silva?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Andre
Yeah.
Silva.
Andre Silva doesn't get the same praise, but Haaland does. I just wanted to bring that up
How old is he, by
randomly.
the way?
Andre Silva is like, how old is he? 27? 26?
No, he's like 24 or 23. So
24.
he's not that old.
Okay.
And one more top scorer that I want to talk about is Wolfsburg's Wout Weghorst. Even he has been on the headlines of Bundesliga. People don't talk about him. He's a top
Yeah.
scorer for the.
Yeah.
I think he's
It's
fourth.
it's very picky. Like, some players make the highlight and some don't. But generally speaking, generally speaking, the only reason why Haaland or Mbappe is getting that negative feedback is because they did good. They got praise before they got the critique. We look at Jose Mourinho. I mean, you could say that Jose Mourinho did good and then he got the critique. But look at Lampard. Look at Coleman. They have little to no managerial experience, and they still get a lot of critique.
I think
Coleman has
I think
a lot of
Lampard's a
experience.
good example too, because if you look at, obviously this season didn't go well for him, but if you change a couple of results, if Werner scores those easy tap-ins that he misses and they get better results, and he's still gonna be in a job. So just because his players didn't perform in crucial moments, I don't think he deserves all the critics for that.
One more thing, I agree with you, Mitch. One more thing.
Correct.
What game was that? Where Eric Dyer made a stupid challenge in the box.
It
I
was
can't.
Spurs versus Chelsea at the
Yeah, it was.
Etihad Stadium.
Yeah, that was the game that I was thinking about. Dyer made that stupid challenge where he extended his leg when he didn't have to do that. He definitely didn't have to do that. And that lost us game, by the way. That lost us the game. I blame that challenge for the loss. And how in the hell are you gonna blame Jose Mourinho for that loss, for that goal? You can't. It's the players that make most of the micro decisions within the game. They they pre- okay. They drive the game.
I,
Manager can only ask
bro, I get
them.
your point.
Hey, go on, Hafiz.
Yeah.
Hafiz,
No, bro,
yeah,
I really get your point. But, sorry, just real quick though. We need to understand that we're talking about human beings here, right?
Yeah,
And that's not to say that we expect them to make mistakes. No, we're not, but they're human beings. They should be treated as human beings as well. And what I mean by that specifically is a mistake every now and then will occur. And I think it's a manager's responsibility to react according to that specific situation and to like push them towards not ending. I'm
Okay.
not blaming Jose for that loss. Let me clarify that. I'm not blaming him for that loss. But what I'm suggesting is that mistakes like that will happen. How the manager reacts to them is what's telling of both the player and
And
the
I
manager.
do want to add on as well, like,
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
about
go ahead.
consistency as well, right? If it's like, okay, one bad result and everything, I don't think any manager should be put under the bus because of it, right? However, if it's consistent performances, then you got to ask questions about whether or not, you got to look at the situation first and foremost. Are Spurs in a really dire situation where they are losing multiple players and everything? For example, let's look at the example with the Arsenal game. Right off the bat, I think everybody said that Spurs should have won based on the squad that was put out. And somehow, some way, Arsenal, won it. And I know it's about, like, form goes out of the window. But the performance levels between Arsenal and the performance level between Spurs were cut and dry. It wasn't a 50-50 thing. Arsenal, through and throughout, dominated that game. And Spurs were they home or away?
Yeah.
Arsenal was home, right? But they didn't put our prayer in that, right? And we've been seeing that consistently this season, that they haven't been. So you do that thing is like you do have to question actually some of the thing. Of course, within every team it's different, but does it
Yeah.
make you?
After that loss, no, before that, after that loss, uh, Jose Mourinho put out that team that we discussed about. It was against what team was it? That he just completely changed up the team. It was against Aston Villa that we won 2-0. We were questioning that team because it was completely different. Three center backs. I think he was playing five at the back. And Spurs actually played really well, although it was just Aston Villa. But Spurs played really well. And I also want to bring up one point. Thivian, you and I had this discussion after I think Liverpool lost to Brighton, with Zen as well. We were talking about like how the manager doesn't deserve as much blame as they do get. When we were watching that game when Liverpool lost, it was clear that the attackers of Liverpool, they did not have that passion or hunger to go in there to get those goals. And you can portray it however you want, but it was visible within the players that they didn't want to score. I mean, of course, they wanted to score, but they were not fighting for
Mentally
it.
wise,
Yeah,
I agree with that.
they were broken. And because of those things, manager gets the blame.
Akilesh, did you want to add something? Sorry,
Yes, I did want to add something.
Okay, then Akilesh, and I'll answer your question, Mustafa. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Mustafa, you said that Werner could have Mustafa and Mitch, I guess they said that Werner could have tapped in some goals and got some victory. In that point of view, it's true that he didn't perform, but let's get this into the consideration. See the forward play difference between Tuchel and Frank Lampard. It's completely different. Frank Lampard goes wide. He goes wide and he tries to cross in, but it's a very poor build-up. But this Tuchel team has a good forward build-up. The build-up gets you in the box and you score. And I think you guys saw the first Atletico Madrid goal, right? That impressive forward play. That's what it was expected. And I think the commentator also said that is the expected thing that every Chelsea fan dreamed of. And but in the beginning of the season when Lampard was there, the forward play was poor. If you look at the Wolves versus Chelsea game in which we lost 2-1 to them, the forward play was too bad. Even though Mount, Kante, and Jorginho and Kovacic were driving it, but the forward play was poor. They didn't have the manager is to be blamed because he needs to bring in confidence in the players. That too, Werner and Havertz have been crucial players for us. They're crucial because big money signings, big wonder kids, they're expected to do well. So all the pressure is on the manager. And now with Tuchel in the team, Werner has been doing a lot of forward runs. He's giving assists. He's winning penalties. And I saw Tuchel's interview today. He was talking about how Werner is. People say the media critiqued him, saying that what are you gonna say about Werner's miss on the Germany versus North Macedonia? He defended him, saying that no, look what he's doing. Look at the work he's doing. He's giving the assists. He's giving the important forward runs. That wasn't there when Lampard was there. That's the main thing that's missing. Trust me, it's just the forward. It's just the tactics, man management, or things would be even different if Lampard was here. And after Lampard leaves and Tuchel comes in, it's a different game. Yeah.
Okay. I'll answer Akilesh's question before first Mustafa. Mustafa. Obviously, I think you were talking about the Brighton game and just like looking at the players. Yeah, I do agree. I do think, and I did say as well, it was the players' fault that time, right? but it was a run of games. You got to consider it was a bad run of games as well. You know, during that time, it was a lot of injury issues as well, right? But at that moment, I do agree. I do blame the players. You know, they didn't perform well, and they should have really done better against a team like that, right? Same with a lot of the other games later on. You know, you got to look at like individuals that didn't particularly play well, right? But again, it is where to happen. But I do look at like in the beginning as well that you know they do and I think to be fair, a lot of the front line do need to take blame for it. Like Sadio Mane has been performing at the top of this level, but like someone like Mohamed Salah, who has been critiqued a lot, even with our fan base, he's been performing well consistently, and he's the one that's actually driving us to do well, right? So that's in a way an individual kind of thing, and that's how I look at it. And to answer or to actually question Akilesh, do you still blame Timo Werner despite the lack of confidence and everything? You know, with the amount of chances, it's not like he's struggling to get into the right positions, right? But do you blame him for some of the gilt-edged chances that he did miss? Because at the end of the day, you know, he's been put in the positions that are pretty good and everything, right? And it doesn't help in his press conference that he does make excuses later on, and he says like, "Oh, you know, like I didn't expect that physicality and everything." Don't you feel like you want to play that's like, you know what? Obviously, this league is going to be difficult. I understand that, but I need to take into myself, put myself to this consideration, and really work on finishing in general. Because if he's not working on finishing in the training, then you know.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. That's the main thing that he lacked. He lacked, and so he started to provide the assist at the moment. That I can completely agree with you. But it goes hand in hand, I guess. The time when Lampard was in, and how the team was performing all over, and the team was all over the place and whatnot. So, yeah, those crucial tap-ins was his fault, mainly his fault. I really do blame him. But in terms of other like making opportunities, running for the opportunities, I guess it's it it's on the team pretty.
Okay. Does
Um,
anybody have anything to add?
so
Yes,
yeah, I'm gonna add on to it if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah.
Or like Mustafa, do you want to add something?
You wanna
All
ask
right.
me a question or something?
I want to respond to Hafiz and Thivian, and I also want to respond to Akilesh.
Okay.
Okay,
Uh,
let's go.
it's responding to Hafiz and Thivian. No, actually, I'm gonna respond to Akilesh first.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Pick one.
Pick up your mind, yo.
I'm gonna give my own personal example of
Okay.
real life.
All right.
I'm a captain of an Overwatch team, and I've experienced this firsthand. When you have to be the leader,
A lot of the
when you have to be the leader, like sometimes changes come, like you make changes within the team, you get new players, and usually it's not like the manager's fault. Like, okay, it's just a change within the team that actually makes the difference. You know, taking it back to when Mourinho came in, Pochettino went out, Mourinho came in. Nothing has changed since Mourinho came in, other than a couple of signings. You could say Doherty has had a bad influence. Højbjerg has a positive influence, and Ndombele has improved a bit. But mostly he's made positive changes. But the Spurs are going downhill. Like when he came in, Spurs were downhill, they went up, then they went down again. It's not really like and for Tuchel as well. It's early days for him.
yes.
I think it's a bit too early to judge. Maybe these players that are playing under Tuchel, maybe if they would have performed on the same caliber as they're performing under Tuchel, when they were under Lampard, if they performed the same, I can guarantee you they would have done great things. If the players themselves, they don't want to win, they're not going to win. If they don't have that, if they don't believe, then they're not gonna win.
Right.
And
Okay, before you do continue as well, I'm gonna let you respond, and Hafiz, you can respond, and if any like last remarks regarding all this,
yeah, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
go ahead, because we are going overtime actually, and we'll
Yeah.
actually cut it to one more topic, and then we'll end it. All right, sounds good. All right, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, you're pretty much right. But at the end of the day, I know the team could have performed better under Lampard, but I don't know what really went wrong. On uh, to be honest, I just watched the game. They were lackluster. The 0-0 draw against United, the 0-0 draw against you guys, and the Arsenal loss, which was really devastating. I don't know what really happened. Oh my god, it's a tough one. It's a tough call. Not gonna lie,
I just
it's a tough call.
want to just briefly add to that, just like briefly.
Yeah, go for it.
You're right, but that's where I feel Frank Lampard fell short.
Yes.
In a situation like that, a solid manager would be able to um, turn the environment around, turn the morale around, right? Like Pep is a prime example, who last year, his team was down in the dumps.
And
As the quality
and
manager that
this
he is, he turned it around.
and going on
Mhm.
into this season as well, because we're like bottom half, mid-table for the first
Yeah,
like 2 months of the season.
Yeah,
Like if you take into
exactly.
consideration,
Like a good manager.
if you take into consider with if you consider Man City, they lost against Spurs, they lost against Leicester 5-2, the biggest defeat of theirs, and they had the mechanism to bounce back. They had the tactic, they
Yeah,
had the mindset to bounce back, and that's what is expected of all teams. And Spurs did the opposite. They went down a high and they went downhill, and the same thing
wait,
with
when were we
Liverpool.
talking about
Liverpool,
Spurs?
it's a different story.
Bro, we're talking about Chelsea. How'd you jump to Spurs and Liverpool?
I mean, I'm just telling it overall. So the
Okay,
same thing, we
all
didn't have
right.
that bouncing back.
Mustafa, you wanted to say
Yeah,
one more thing to Hafiz and I, right?
yeah, just one more thing.
Yeah.
We can continue this after the whole thing is over because this is a long topic.
It really
You
is.
said, Hafiz, you said that when Van Dijk got injured, it's the manager's responsibility to pull the team together and bring back the morale. But the thing is, as you've said, managers are humans as well. When like I'm the captain of a team, and when someone's not playing, of course the morale of the team would go down, and it affects me personally as well because I have to manage everything. I have to overlook everything. Like talking on a psychological level, and this gets really deep. Talking on a psychological level, how can I put the team back together when I myself I'm not sure what's gonna happen?
Well,
I don't know how I'm gonna do
So-
this.
I just have like a little point for that. Like
you-
I think you're looking at a different. It's kind of like a different perspective because you're the captain of that team. So you're. Whoa! What the
Yo,
fuck?
Akil, where'd you go?
Okay, Akil, can you mute yourself, man?
My man's in a plane.
Akil, can you
Oh my
mute yourself,
God.
man? Like, because like we
Hold
heard
on.
like.
It's okay. Sorry, he's good.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's
all right,
good.
yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I think you gotta take it a little bit of a different perspective because you're the captain of that team. So you're looking at the perspective of Lloris. You're not looking at the perspective of Mourinho. Like
Okay.
you can't
Okay,
directly
okay.
influence what's going on
Time
in the
out.
game because you're
Time out.
because you're playing. Because you're playing, you're not just watching from the sidelines. You're directly involved in it, so you can shift something while you're playing. Yo,
I'm the manager as well. I forgot to mention this. I'm the manager and the captain.
do you play? Do you play?
Yeah, I play and I manage.
So
Okay.
it's like a different perspective because you can directly impact what's going on when it's going on. It's a different perspective for the manager.
Yes.
Like Mourinho can't go on the pitch and go make a freaking 50-yard run and then tackle somebody in the box and play it upfield. Like, he can't do that. So it's like a different perspective.
I'm just saying, Kenny Dalglish
Straight
can do
up.
that. Back in the day
Off the
when he managed Liverpool, he was a player manager, then he became a manager after. And then I'm not talking about his
all right. Let me hit you. Let me hit you with my answer, okay?
Damn.
The manager doesn't play for a reason. That's because their role is to manage the team. No, genuinely, like their
Yeah.
role as a manager is to manage the team, right? A manager needs to be the most mentally strong. They need to be the strongest mental. They're the front line in terms of the media, generally, like with regards to the club and whatnot. That's not to say that it's easy for them or it's not hard for them, but like there's a reason that's a manager position that they take and not a player position, because the roles of a manager position is different from the roles of a player. I want to bring retail into here because I think retail is a good example. You look at these employees working on the floor as an associate, as a cashier and stuff, right? They're usually the ones that the money comes in from there, right? They're the ones who do the transaction and whatnot. But if anything goes wrong, if something breaks loose in there, the manager is the first person. The manager is the one who's responsible for keeping the employees calm, for handling any any serious issue or anything that goes on. And generally, how it's supposed to be is that they're paid more because they have more responsibility. So I'm not saying that it's easy for, was it Klopp we're talking about or Jose?
Jose.
Klopp.
Both.
Jose.
Both. They're both in
Okay.
the mud.
To be honest, they both had it. Yeah, I'm not saying it's easy for Jose Mourinho or anything, but that's why he's paid for it. Like, and he's done it before. I think so. I hope so. But that's why he's paid for it. Like, that's his role as the manager, is to find a way to dig them out that hole and to get them back up and running.
Yeah,
And
I do wanna.
that's why they have managers, so players could focus on playing in the game and less on, the other aspects of running a team.
I do want to add on as well. When you do accept things in like those big positions, well, you kind of have an understanding where you're coming from with this, right? Especially when you're taking a bigger role, right? You have a bigger responsibility. You hold a bigger, weight in that, right? And I think a lot of people, they do understand the job, right? Now, if certain things go wrong and everything, I think the employees will understand, right? But you have to show yourself that you're putting a bigger effort, especially in like the press conference, right? It's not a good sign that, especially in a, like, if I were to, let's just say my manager was talking like about the whole situation, like let's say his store and everything, and he talks poorly about the manager. That's horrible in a manager's morale thing, right? And that's why a manager needs to be strong for its people as well. And that's why in those instances Klopp gets praised more in this way, and then Mourinho, like, even though at times, yeah, he should like talk about his players and everything, it just didn't work out in recent times, and it's just, again, another morale, downer in that sense, right? So at the end of the day, it's very subjective, and it can really, this topic can really go more, and I'm glad that you guys are all passionate about this, and please definitely do, but I want to conclude this whole topic by ending up with these two questions, and just give me like quick answers to that. Let's not try to go back and forth and do it. What do you think the role of a manager? Yeah, what do you think the role of the manager in today's game should be, and what should we expect from that? And then the role of the players in today's game. And I don't, and what I do mean by this, right? I don't mean about like, okay, the position they play specifically. I mean like how they should present themselves in like the game and like their image. That makes sense, right? Am I clear with that, or is there any questions regarding that question? All right, perfect. Each one of you guys can answer.
Wait, could you ask that one more time? I wasn't paying attention.
Ask it again.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so what is the role of the managers in today's game? Like the responsibilities, like what they need to do, like how should they portray themselves? And the same thing regarding the player. I'm not talking about what position they need to play and whatnot, but those three kind of factors. Yeah, go ahead, Akilesh.
So there's a difference between a boss and a leader. The boss instructs, and the others do the job what the boss asks for. The employees do the job what the boss asks for. But the leader, he steps in and he motivates them, he shows them how it's done, and he gets it done. And I think even though the manager doesn't get into the pitch and play with the players, off the pitch, he does his work as a leader. I think in the modern day football, the manager is like a leader. He directs the team in a certain way. He 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 directs the players in a certain way. He manages his players. He knows what is right, what is wrong, who should fit in the team, who is not, who is unfit, who keeps a clear record of how players are performing. And he he also keeps an eye on the youth development, saying that okay, we can promote this player to the senior team. I wish he'll be a good fit. He really judges well, saying that who fits in the team and who doesn't, and who fits into his system. His system is a certain way, certain tactic of his that he applies in the everyday game. And he knows what sort of a players fits in. Like Jose Mourinho chose Drogba, and right now he's choosing Harry Kane as his forward, and the same way as other players, other managers too. So yeah, he he knows what is good for the team. If he's really experienced, he knows what is good for the team, and he directs the team in the right way.
Okay. So you're talking about the role of the manager. What about the role of the player?
Role of the manager, I was talking about.
Okay, so you don't have any different role of the player. Okay. Anybody else wants to answer the two questions?
Well, I just wanted to add a point on to Aklesh's thing. So about the boss versus leader view, I don't know if like I'm alone in this, but I put a lot of emphasis on the captain, and I have a lot of scrutiny for them if the teams play kind of poorly, because the manager can lead off the pitch in training, and he's the one that guides them. He picks the team and he organizes all the players, and on the pitch he gives them guidance or advice or tactics. Um, but the captain is the leader of the team on the pitch, and I think the best form of leadership is leadership by example. So that's why I have a lot of praise for Jordan Henderson, because I've never seen Jordan Henderson play a game in from my view where he's played poorly in terms of leadership. And I think that captains play a big role in why teams play well, play poorly. And I think there should be a bigger emphasis on the role of your captain as a player.
Yes,
So,
I agree with Mitch. And
I do
you
want to
see,
say as well, like I don't want to try to have a back and forth interview. I
it's
just
okay.
want to answer like the two questions, if that's okay. Sorry about that, guys.
It's
Does
okay.
anybody else want to add
It's
on
okay.
like to like the answer, or I think we're good, right? We good?
Yeah, we good.
Good
Okay.
in terms of like answering. Okay, perfect. Obviously, this is a big loaded question. I think a lot of these guys are going to discuss about it after the whole podcast thing. But please continue this discussion when it comes to like the players versus manager debate. Comment down below. Obviously, I think a lot of people have other experiences when it comes to their teams and everything that they could connect, and it will be nice to hear it.